What's up, guys? So we're gonna do a quick video on Beyond Meat, which is ticker BYND. And I thought this was a really interesting stock to look at because it had some recent news out here. Let me scroll down and find it. It says Beyond Meat secures 100 million to pay down debt as plant-based sales suffer. So 25 days ago, but I just recently saw that and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. Let me take a look at this company. So when I first pulled it up, you see a stock looks something like this, or maybe the 5 day, and you think, oh, okay, $3 a share, and you dig in a little bit more. Market cap is 221 million, and then you kind of pick it apart a little bit, and you go back, and you start going back, and you keep going back, and you think, wow, what happened here? So looks like it IPO'd around $66 a share, had a peak of 234, which is huge. So in July of 2019, $234 a share, coming from 66, pretty good gain if you had done that, timed it correctly, because obviously it's pretty fast that it dipped right back down. But that's a 250% gain there, which is pretty fantastic in a short period of time. So May to July. And as I was mentioning there, even Forbes has an article that says in 2019, Beyond Meat went public with one of the most successful IPOs of the decade, which is pretty accurate if you were to time it that way. And to be honest, even if you didn't, you came in and got this IPO just like that. I mean, you could have held on to it even a year, almost a year later. Well, minus the COVID piece, but I mean, it's been positive since the IPO for some time until we get over here to 2021, and ever since then it's been on a massive decline, and you're looking at 95% plus losses there. And if you had bought in at the wrong time for a hype, you're like, oh, I'm buying in right here, you're looking at a 97, 98% loss, which is really quite terrible if that's was the stock you had in portfolio. But with that said, the stock is at a very low, not an all-time low, because back in May was its all-time low, I think, of 228. So if we look at like 1 month, 228, Friday, May 9th. So just about a month ago-ish, 228. And it's already up $1 from there. So that might have, I mean, obviously that would have been a pretty good buy for you. You made $1 already. That's a 36% increase, which is pretty sizable. But let's take a little bit more dive into the stock here. So pull up one of these other tabs. One of the things I was interested in looking at was its presence out in the market. And so I did think that it was interesting to see that Beyond Meat branded products are available in approximately 129,000 retail and food service outlets, which is a lot. So they're all over the place. Another thing that I thought was very interesting is says that all of our products are made from simple ingredients without GMOs, no added hormones or antibiotics. And so it seems like the product is decent quality. Like if you're buying something that's, faux meat, you would think you'd want your ingredients to be of high quality. That's just my personal opinion. If you're trying to do the healthy thing, that's what you think is healthy. Why would you buy something that's made that isn't, with more natural ways of producing food? And so non-GMO is definitely a more natural way, non-genetically modified things. And they actually mentioned that twice. They also say lack of cholesterol and GMOs, and that's in their competitive section of this 10K. So if you're not familiar with the 10K, it is an SEC filing that all publicly traded companies have to put out. And it's got a lot of info. They just write a ton of stuff about their company and what they're doing. So the other thing I wanted to look at was they do maintain a pretty good social media presence. So they've got, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. And so I thought that was really interesting because I was shocked at the size of their Instagram following, and they have 1 million followers. That's incredible to have 1 million followers, especially for something like a food industry item like this. I was just surprised that they'd have that many. So 1 million followers. So I haven't checked the other Facebook or TikTok, but I'm assuming they're equal in size because 1 million in Instagram would probably translate to the same kinds of numbers elsewhere. So quite impressive there. So they do have a good following. Their website is obviously very good. 1 million followers on Instagram kind of just, I think, prove that. But you can see all the products that they make, all these faux meat products. And so anyhow, let's dig in a little bit here. So we went and looked at the quarterly report. So I pulled that up off of their investors page. And it was a little bit depressing here because they do say that their adjusted loss was 42.3 million. But then last year it was 32.9. So this quarter last year, 2024, so first quarter 2025, it was a $42 million loss, and in first quarter 2024 was a $32 million loss. So their losses are actually have increased, which is not a good thing. And so then one of the things I wanted to look at was what was their operating net income, or their operating income. And you can see for the last 5 years, we've got negative operating incomes, which is pretty bad, frankly. 2023 and 2022 looked like probably their worst years. And so maybe they're on a little bit of a rebound, because you can see even their first year was, or second year, I guess you could say, was $42 million loss, and then 159, and then 325, and then 253, and then 148. So are they trending in the right direction? It's possible. You can see this trending down here. The current is 150. So it'd be really interesting to see where this turns around. They also mentioned here we have experienced net losses. So again, in their 10K here, we have a history of losses, and we may be unable to achieve or sustain profitability. We have experienced net losses almost every period since inception. 2024, 23, 22, we incurred net losses of 160, 338, and 366 respectively. Again, you can see that trending the other direction. This is 2022, 2023, 2024, 160. So trending, it's still losses, but maybe they're getting better. And so that 100 million that they secured might help them to break out of this pattern. Another thing that's interesting is their business obviously is faux meat, so they need the ingredients for that. And so one of their concerns is limited availability of these plant-based proteins or avocado oil. So they most of their primary ingredient is peas, I believe, and avocados, and so sourcing that is potentially difficult. Another thing that was interesting that I saw was, and this kind of just goes along with the losses, is that they have been cutting their staff, reducing their staff. So in 2025, so this year, board of directors approved a plan to reduce our workforce in North America and EU by approximately 44 employees. That's 70% of our global non-production workforce, so non-production. And then they also reduced their global operations review in China, as part of a review rather. In China, they reduced their workforce there by 20 employees, which represents approximately 95% of our China workforce. So they pretty much eliminated most of their China workforce. And actually, if you do the math there, what does that leave? Like 1 or 2 employees? And then they also, in December of 2024, they had approximately $1.3 billion of consolidated indebtedness and other liabilities. So sizable debt, in my opinion. At least I think it's pretty big, considering that they don't have their operating income is a negative as well. So it's not like they've got income to balance the debt load there. And then I just thought this was interesting as well. Gross profit loss and gross margin. So 2023, a negative. 2024, positive. A little bit of change. The cost of goods sold, quite a bit less cost of goods sold versus from 2024 to 2023. All right, so with all that said, I hope this research was useful to you. If obviously, I would recommend going and digging a little bit more if this stock interests you. Thanks for watching.